Reaching Abundance. In this interview episode, you'll meet Kevin Payne, the creator behind FamilyMoneyAdventure.com and a full-time freelance writer. Our conversation about pursuing your own version of abundance offers you perspective on how Kevin manages being a full-time writer, his large family of 6, and his passion for travel. Take notes on how you too can free up mental space, establish your own level of enoughness, and lean into your true values in your business and your personal life. Our conversation touches on the impact our kids' schedules have on our workflow, his role as the work-from-home parent and his perspective on household chores, and why he rarely ever looks at his podcast stats. Thank you for joining me today, Kevin. I am so happy to have you on the show with me today. I would love to start by hearing your personal, unique definition of abundance.
For me, when I think of abundance, I kind of think of like freedom to make choices. Not that you can just make more choices, but that you have more like options available. And a lot of times when you haven't reached that level, or maybe whether you're struggling or you're just, getting by, or, maybe you're doing okay, you still, it's like your options are limited, or, you're not where you want to be able to, choose what your day looks like, or, what your business might look like this year or the next 5 years or whatever. So that's what I kind of picture as abundance.
Absolutely. So maybe like the mental space to be able to choose what you would want, right? Instead of when we're kind of in the hustle, or whether there's a health issue or if it is a money issue or whatever's going on, that's almost like clouding all of our decision-making capability. It's really hard to look beyond that and say, oh, like what would my most abundant life look like?
Yeah. And I think, no matter what, level you're at or whatever, like obviously there are certain things that are outside of your control that you can't choose. Like you can't, certain health issues, you can't, choose to not get sick, or you're not this, obviously you can only do so much. And the same in other areas of your life as well. But I think a lot of times when you're talking about abundance or not having abundance, it's not just freedom of choice. It's like you're almost forced to make certain decisions, or to like kind of hold back in certain areas, maybe where you wouldn't want to necessarily, just because you just don't, you're just not there yet,
So do you have any examples or experiences that you could share with us that maybe would show us your journey a little bit, like just a little window into your journey of a situation where maybe your daily activities or your routines or just your feelings in general were kind of really hindered and not necessarily in an abundant space, versus potentially where you're at now and why this feels more abundant?
Yeah, I can give you a couple examples, actually. One is going back to just what I'm doing now, where I'm a freelance writer and content creator. Rewind back to, trying to think, maybe 2018, 2019. We had adopted 2 girls. At the time, we were a family of 4. We have 2 boys, and we adopted 2 girls. This is actually a few years before that. And trying to figure out how to survive first, just adding 2 more people to the family. That's a lot to like, monetarily, just physically surviving, being, having enough space for everybody, having enough food for everybody, all the,
Mm-hmm.
different needs that come with,
Yeah.
being a family.
That's a big
Um,
adjustment.
yeah. And at the same time, I was in a job that, was not my favorite, and it was paying the bills, and it supported us. And, my wife works as well. But I was really starting to explore some different areas of maybe where could make a change with my career. Um, and somehow, going through the online rabbit holes, I came across freelance writing. And I've always loved writing. I don't have a background in journalism or anything like that. And at the same time, we were going through kind of, I was going through this like huge, research project to learn how to manage our money better and how to travel better, because that's a big value for our families, travel. And I wanted to continue that as we, expanded to a family of 6. So I had to find ways to be able to afford that and to provide good experiences for our family. So those things kind of coincided to where I began writing about money and travel. First on, a website, Family Money Adventure, that I created. And also I used that kind of as a portfolio to start freelance writing. And I took a course on freelance writing, not so much on how to write, but like on how to build a business of writing, and how to scale that up. And so, I started with, a couple free gigs and then some, low paying ones, and have gradually, built it up over time. And then a few years back, reached a level where I was making as much as I was making in my day job. And at that time, I probably should have waited a little longer in hindsight, but I didn't want to wait any longer. So quit the day job and went full time with it. And it turned out to be a great decision, because that was like November, right before the pandemic hit.
Oh,
So I was actually able to be home and be here when my kids, when schools closed down. So that was a good thing. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been here at all for any of that. So, since that time, I've been able to, I'm a little behind. I didn't actually look at what I made this past year, but like I know I've doubled my income at least since then, what I was making in my day job, probably way beyond that actually at this point. So that's kind of the huge example. Since that time though, this last year has been a huge year of kind of exploring and doing some deep dives into just where I want to go from here. Like I said, I freelance write, but then I also have my own site and podcasts and, just business. And trying to figure out the balance between the two has been a challenge for me. And I know you know this, but like I've struggled with ADHD, and that has been something that's really been on my mind this past year, trying to figure out how to not just get by, but to like actually learn how to work within that to actually benefit my schedule, benefit, my content, benefit just everything, my business, personal life, how to maximize, my time better, to be able to split, give more time to Family Money Adventure than I had in the past. And that's really one of my goals, is to be able to balance the two of them a little better. And I was doing really good at the end of last year. I've been dealing with some health issues at the beginning of this year, and took some time off from both of them actually. And it's allowed me to kind of had time to think about everything and to kind of formulate a plan going forward for this year. But those are just a couple of different examples of that.
yeah. So immediately I'm hearing that your transition out of a W-2 position into your own freelance writing situation and business. I mean, obviously that's a very abundant move, because then you're in control of your income, you're in control of your time, you're in control of how much you produce when. And so that's huge. And I think most of us entrepreneurs really, that's what we're after, is like the true control of our own time and income. And then the other piece that I'm hearing is you literally have taken time off from your own business, which is a completely abundant move, right? Like the ability to do that, to then have more perspective, to examine your own behaviors and, yes, okay, I struggle with ADD or ADHD, but how can I thrive within this thing? Like, it's not a detriment. How can I use it to help me? So those are two really abundant moves there.
Yeah. And I think, for me, obviously, the holidays helped provide kind of a space to take some time off, and being sick. But I had planned on taking at least a little bit of time off. And I think sometimes we forget to do that, not just in business, but in life, to kind of just stop, and stop what you're doing and stop, the wheels, and just take a step back. And, whether it's just to step away and not even think about your business and just go recharge, or whether it's to step back and kind of not be in the thick of it when you're thinking of all the decisions that you have to make or where you're headed. It's a chance for you to look backwards a little bit. What could I have done better? What did I do really well? It's not always just like a negative thing. You can be like, man, I'm really doing awesome in this area. Like, maybe I should in the future, like, really focus more on that, and take advantage of that. Something that maybe is, comes a little easier, or, provides a little more, return, instead of, being so spread out. I think that's what this time off allowed me to do, is to be able to look at those types of things and to, kind of formulate a plan going forward.
Have you ever pictured yourself having your own show? Maybe it's time. This show is edited and produced by podcastabundance.com. And if you like what we're doing, we can do it for your business too. I'm Virginia Elder, and I've been helping entrepreneurs start podcasts to market their business since 2019. I coach you through branding, structuring your episodes, workflow, and recording your podcast. Then my team and I professionally edit your audio and video so that you don't have to. We'll even write your episode descriptions and titles so that when potential customers turn to Google, your show appears in their search results. Establish authority in your niche, expand your reach, and create a library of helpful content for potential and current clients, all with your own podcast. I'm here to hold your hand and make podcasting the exciting, up-leveling experience it should be, skirting you past the tech and software struggles too. Take the first step by booking a call with me using the link in the show notes or by visiting podcastabundance.com. Now, on to the rest of the show.
Well, and even I have looked at, my book of clients essentially and said, okay, these people I really love working with, these not so much. Okay, so, but why? What is the part that feels hard or frustrating, or like, what is the friction with these people? And then, really getting granular with it, whether it is a workflow thing or a money thing or a communication thing or whatever it is. And, deciding, like, am I going to continue working with them or not? And I've done that a few times over the years, and it's hard every single time. And stepping back really helps you do that. But I know you have even been working on, when it comes to the ADHD, like your own daily practices and mental space. And would you walk us through what feels like an abundant routine, whether it's like daily, weekly, monthly, whatever. How have you discovered so far? And I know this is a journey, right? Like you never really truly get there, but what have you discovered so far that's really helping you? Because I think it could help other business owners as well.
Yeah, I think the one thing that, and it's hard for if you don't have ADHD or are neurodivergent or lots of different things, but like it's hard for people to wrap their mind around like, oh, I found something that really works for me, but like a lot of times something will work for me for like a day or a week or a month, and then it immediately doesn't work anymore, and it's like it's kind of crazy. Like I just had it, I think yesterday. Like usually I listen to music, instrumental music when I am writing. And I usually have like a few go-to playlists that it's just like, and it almost like tricks your brain, like, it flips a switch like, okay, this is on. I know that this is the writing time. That's what we're going to do. But like yesterday, I turned it on and like a few songs and I was like, this is really like bothering me. Like it's annoying me. I can't concentrate. So I had to turn it off and actually write without music, which I rarely do. But so that's one thing. But like a lot of times I find it if I don't touch my phone, when I wake up, like the longer I can take from getting on devices or checking email or doing all the other tasks, it allows me to focus more on if I have writing assignments and things like that. Obviously, there's other parts of my business, communicating with people, writing outlines, recording podcast episodes, working on like affiliate stuff. And like there's a lot of busy work that comes with being a business owner. But the bulk, the main focus is writing for me, both for my own site and for my clients. So to be able to not, it's hard sometimes, like even if it's something that's not necessarily hard to write about or that I don't, it's something that I know pretty well. Like it's that concept of like, if you have like 6 hours, like you can stretch out that job to fit that. Like for people with ADHD, that is like a huge thing. Like that we do, like we are like professionals at doing that one thing. So I try to maybe focus on having like a window that this is when I'm going to write today, and maybe turn the iPhone, so turn on like one of the focus modes that blocks everything out, turn on my music, try to keep a clear desk other than maybe like one notebook on the side to where, as I think of things, I'm able to get them out and dump them on a paper so that those things are over there and I'm over here. That helps out a lot for sure.
I like that. I'll speak for someone that's not technically diagnosed with ADHD or anything, but the more clutter, I'm looking at my desk right now, like the more clutter that's on here, it is more distracting. So I think that's a great tip for everybody, but especially if you're, like you said, like neurodivergent in any way, paying attention to your space and then, staying off of social media and things like that as long as you can. So I even struggle too when it is something I need to be online for, whether it's on the phone or on the computer. I'm going to go to Facebook because I need to find Kevin to tag him to do this thing. And what am I doing 30 minutes later? Scrolling wait, what was I supposed to be doing? And it takes me like 5 minutes to just really get back on track. I'm like, okay, search Kevin. Okay, tag, done. Finally, that shouldn't have taken me 30 minutes, but it's because I got distracted. So I know there are tools out there that will minimize your feed and kind of like not allow you to scroll as much. Have you tried any of those tools, or is there anything like that you've discovered to actually like almost like block yourself during certain windows from certain websites or anything?
I'm trying to remember because I actually went through a phase where I tried like multiple apps just to test them all out. Some paid, some free. and I don't use any of them now. But I did find them somewhat effective, but I also found them extremely annoying.
Yes.
The hard part is because, they would help me on the freelance writing side sometimes, but on the content creator side, like there's a lot of times where I will, need to respond to something, comments on social media, or need to send a message. Actually, with freelance writing, a lot of times, like I write a lot of credit card and banking content, and if I can't find something on their site, usually the quickest way is to shoot them a message to their customer service through social media. I try to go through like their press contacts and stuff to try to get info, but like it usually takes several days. Whereas like if I shoot them a message on Twitter, like I get something back, like within an hour, so like, but when I pick up my phone and I'm like, oh, it's blocked like for like 4 more hours. I can't do it on there. So,
yeah.
So I've never actually blocked anything on my computer, on my laptop, because of that. And I just wanted to allow that. But I tend to not use my computer for things like social media or just, just Googling random stuff. Like I do that more on my phone. So I have found that I don't need to do that so much, but there are apps or, Google extensions that allow you to do that. There are tons of tools. I wish I could remember the names of more of them, but Opal is the one I do. I know it's a paid thing, so
yeah. Well, it's a good recommendation. Anyways,
yeah.
And I think the thing that I'm hearing you say without saying it is you've relegated certain types of tasks to certain devices. So it's kind of like, well, on my phone, I can search and be on social media and do what I want, but like a computer is business only. And so that's actually a really great tip. So thank you for that.
Yeah. One of actually I just looked, one of the other ones was called ClearSpace, and it's a mobile app. And then the last one I'll mention, it's not something that necessarily blocks, access to anything, but Brain FM is used by a lot of people, especially with ADHD, but it could be used by anybody, honestly. And it's kind of, I used it for a while. I don't use it anymore. But like it's music that I somehow scientifically, they figure out the type of music that helps you to focus or have energy or things like that. So, again, that's kind of a paid service. I tried it for a while and I actually found that I can find similar stuff in Spotify for free. So, but I do think that, I think the big thing is that if you don't even have to be ADHD or anything, but like, if you're struggling to be able to focus or to, you find your mind wandering, it's worth exploring the tips and tools and all those things that are out there to figure out what works for you.
Mm-hmm. Have you noticed any difference in, the amount of movement or like your exercise routine or your eating habits or anything like that and how they influence your ability to focus?
We added a whole workout area to our basement like this past year. We did a remodel down there and I made it a point that once that was finished, that we would add that down there. My son, my youngest son, he's in high school and he's an athlete and he loves it. I hear him every night. I hear weights clanging down there and stuff. So I have found that that's very helpful. Especially I tend to do that earlier in the morning. I usually drop them off to school and then come back, get my workout in real quick before I start my work day. Sometimes I take a little too long with the workout, longer than I want. The hard part right now is that and one of the downside of working from home is that, our kids go to, public school and I have a daughter, she's a senior, she has early release. She doesn't drive, so I'm the one who has to go pick her up. And then my son, he usually stays after for practice, depending on the time of year. So sometimes I have to go get him. So I end up having like these little segments of time. Um, and I struggle personally if like I have things later in the day, even if it's something as simple as just going and picking them up, to like wrap my brain around that and to be able to focus beforehand. Cause that's all I'm thinking about is, oh, I have all these things later to do. And I'm like not worrying about them, but there's like on my mind, taking up space. So that's the one thing. The good news is that he has his license now. And as soon as I go later today to go pick up his parking pass, and then he can start driving to school. And that alleviates almost all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I will say it's nice to hear a male comment about the kids' schedule and how that impacts your schedule, because very often that's like a mom conversation. And I think, yes, traditional roles are changing and expanding. But I want to kind of highlight that because I am very affected, and both my husband and I are home. So anytime school's out or the kids have a change in schedule or whatever, it does affect my day and like what I had planned to do or what's on the calendar. So it's nice to kind of give a shout out to the other dads out there that are working from home or that are managing the business, and maybe the mom is out, working corporate. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, and
to
I
hear.
think for me, it kind of goes beyond that, actually, just working from home. And it's funny that you say that because our kids have it's not a snow day, but like a cold day. It's like the wind chill was like -15 or something today. So they got the day off. So everybody's home. I told them not to make any noise. And my wife is an educator. She works full time. So she's home too. She got the day off. But for me, we don't talk about this too much, but my wife has an autoimmune disorder, and it really affects her in several different ways. And one of them is just her energy. So I have always, even when I was working a day job and gone most of the time, I always see my role as kind of trying to take as much stuff off of her plate as possible to allow her to, use the energy that she does have for things that she wants to do or things that are important to her. So, like you said, like running kids around, I'm able to do that. Obviously we would have figured out a way if I was working my day job, but cooking, cleaning, things like that. Like it's a shared thing, but I tried to take on as much as possible. Obviously travel is a huge thing for us. Generally I plan most of the travel. She does a ton of stuff as far as getting all the kids' stuff packed and things like that. And we really complement each other well because we both look at things differently or think of different things. So things like I'll pack certain stuff that she didn't think of, and she'll pack stuff I didn't think of, and it all works out somehow. But that's how I kind of look at my role sometimes as a husband, is how can I best help her to preserve, the energy that she does have to be able to do things that she wants to do.
Yeah. Oh,
or has to do.
That is refreshing, to say the least. And I love that, we have, my husband and I have adjusted the gender norm, roles as far as our family goes. And he does all the dishes. Let's just be honest. I hate doing the dishes. So he does those, and he's a big, big help with groceries and cooking and cleaning and all of that stuff, because my focus is the business. And it does come down to energy, and I don't have an autoimmune disorder. So, I can't imagine being in that position, but that's a beautiful, way to kind of illustrate the partnership, whether you're both home working or one's not or whatever. Is just, if we could all look at what's going on in the household and the overall responsibilities and try to share that, or try to take as much as we can off the other partner's plate. That's very much appreciated. And So talk to me, because you mentioned, okay, travel, you're running kids around, you're often cooking, cleaning, things like that, and then also writing and running your business. So how, the real question is just how do you balance it all? But maybe go a little deeper than that. Like, what does a great day look like for you? Where do you feel the most abundant?
That is a really good question. And every day kind of looks a little different for me. What I try to do with writing is I'm not a super fast writer. I have friends who can crank out like article after article every day, and that is not me. I actually end up getting behind when I try to do that. So I try to only actually have like an assignment a day, so that it never works out that way, but that's what I really try to do. At least one primary assignment, and I try to knock it out quickly. When all these things are going on, or like today, for example, like we had this recording scheduled, um, and I have a couple other things that errands I need to run. I will get to my writing. I plan it for later in the day just because. So I think for me, not necessarily sticking to a traditional schedule works for me sometimes. Like I don't want to be writing at night every night. I want to be around for my family, be present. But at the same time, sometimes it actually works better for me to just get all this other stuff done during the day, or even just to rest or, focus on myself and then do that later on, for a few hours or, whatever's needed. A perfect day, though, it would be to hop into the office as quick as possible and get in and get out and then enjoy my day. Would be ideally, or being able to not necessarily creating content, but experiencing what we write about, whether it's, personal finance, but like on the travel side, like we're outside of Cleveland, like we love exploring our hometown. So if we can get out and do something, like I kind of look at it as it's fun to do, but it's also kind of business related because we will create content around that at some point around our experience. So able to combine those helps out a lot. But yeah, that's kind of, there's no set thing for me, at least, not yet.
I like that because so much of what we hear is, time block and establish your schedule and stick to this hard, fast schedule, no matter what, eat that frog, do the hardest things first, and all of these various narratives that work at certain times and that have even helped me at times. But kind of like you mentioned, if there's a change in schedule and kids are home from school, then I didn't do my thing that I set for myself that day. And there's a big chance that I'll go the entire day feeling bad that I didn't do that thing. And of course, that's not like a very abundant mindset. And so I don't like to be in that space. So I've even struggled with, how do you have a set schedule, but also be flexible? Like those don't feel like the same thing. So
yeah, and I think for me, not planning, obviously as a writer, I want to I want to make money and continue to grow my business. But I think where I might differ from other people is I just don't like. When I first started, I was like taking every assignment possible. At this point, I've been able to, find higher paying clients so that I don't have to take as much. And I probably could take more and do more writing and make more money. But I'm at a place where like on that side of my business, I think I'm good right now. I'm in a good place to where I don't have to take that necessarily. And that could change at any moment. Lots of things change in this business. But I think not trying to pack so much stuff allows me to kind of have that freedom. Otherwise, then I'm like, it's like 2:00 and I didn't get anything done, but my son has a game tonight, so I can't do it later. Like, it's like, how am I going to do this? So if my schedule was so packed, I'd be stressed out.
Yeah. Yeah. So something that I think you're bringing up and touching on is the concept of how much is enough. And you, I think, have done the work around stepping back and looking at things and saying, I'm not going to hustle towards this imaginary, really high bar that's always moving. I'm legitimately looking at my numbers saying, I'm good. I'm happy here, and I'm able to have the family life that I want and enjoy my 4 kids and do what I want with my day. Right. So I think that's important, because I think so often we are hustling towards some imaginary number. And a lot of people, if you asked what their number is, they probably couldn't even say it. They're just like, well, just more, bigger, better, more. And there's not even an actual true goal. So I think you've done a lot of the work around that, of realizing how much is enough for yourself.
Yeah. And I think everybody's different. And, if you're trying to, make more and, land more clients and all that stuff, then that's totally cool. For me, I have 2 sides of my business. I would much rather grow on the other side, with Family Money Adventure, creating content, partnering with, companies that are like-minded, press trips, things like that, traveling more. Those are things that interest me as far as, my business goes. And I think the difference is that everything is more immediate with freelance writing. Maybe it's that way with some other businesses. Like I write an article, 30 days, 40 days, whatever, I get paid for it. Whereas with my website, it can take months or years to build up traffic and develop, maybe if you sell digital products or, to build an audience, types of things. It takes a lot more work up front. A lot of people in the content creation world talk about passive income, but it's definitely not passive to start. Maybe down the road, just involves more maintenance, but it's definitely a lot of upfront work, and you don't see the results right away. So it would be super easy for me to just say, if it was all about money, I would just shut that down completely and only focus on the writing, because I could probably double my income right now if I got rid of everything else and just wrote.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I think I would burn out with that for sure. And I do have that sometimes where I just feel exhausted and burnt out from writing, credit card reviews or, bank reviews or, the same, budgeting article for 5 different clients, the same topic. So at those times I have to find ways to, one, fit in work for my own business, and then 2, my own life. I have to have that just personally, or else I'll just totally get disinterested with writing as well. I think some people they can be, and I think it kind of relates to content creation. If you're a content creator, a lot of times the advice you get when you start is to niche down and really do that. And I got that, or just pick travel or pick money. It's going to be a lot harder for you if you don't. But for me, that money, travel, family, all just go together in my life. And that's who we are as a family. So it just made sense to me. And I just kind of ignored that advice and just did my own thing. And I think it's the same way with my business. Is I could do one or the other and probably be more successful, but I kind of need both of them for either one of them to work.
Because one is a passion project that will have more income. And then the other, like you said, is immediate income. So it's, they're both important, and you have to balance, like, while you're building that passive income stream that will be great down the road, you've got to do something that has immediate income right now. Yeah. So on that note, talk to us a bit more about Family Money Adventure. And you launched a podcast last year, and how having that podcast has really guided you even further toward feeling abundant in your business, because you get to talk about your business that much more often, right? So yeah, just share a bit about that journey with us.
Basically, Family Money Adventure exists to help people, especially families, learn how to manage their money better so that they can afford to do the things that they want to do and that they love. For us, that is travel. So it's a big component of our website is sharing our adventures, sharing tips that we've learned over the years, both with managing our money, sharing mistakes that we've made, what we've learned from them. So that's what you'll find at Family Money Adventure. And yeah, last year launched Family Money Adventure Show, which you can find on all of the different podcast platforms, wherever you listen. And that is something that for years, I did not want to do. I was like, I had a close friend. He had a podcast that he was doing. I was a guest on that. This was like really early on in the Family Money Adventure history. And I was like, this is just not what I want to do. I'm not interested at all. I don't want to add another thing. But I think as time went on, I realized like the value of being able to, talk, discuss things. Like my show is a solo show primarily. I have had one guest on there who was amazing before. And it's just a different way to kind of talk about the same things. It's an extension of Family Money Adventure. And last year, I came to the conclusion that it just kind of made sense. And when leading up to that launch and, working on it and going through, made the decision to do like seasons instead of just like continuously, made a decision to do bi-weekly. Because it's kind of along the lines of what we've been talking about is like, I didn't want it to become like a burden that I had to do. I want it to be something that I was passionate about and something that I was interested in and that I wouldn't lose interest in. And I think that for me, if I was doing that like weekly or like, some shows are even like several times a week, like it's just like, that would have to be my one thing. And I'd have to drop everything else. It's just me. I don't have a team of people. Eventually you'll probably hire maybe other writers or a VA or things like that. I do have a podcast editor, best in the business. And my goal with season one was just to do it. I didn't have, aspirations of having, thousands or millions of people listening. I rarely look at the numbers on how it's doing. I just wanted to do the thing and to record it, hit record and share on topics that we were passionate about. Right now, I'm in the process of working through ideas for season 2, and I'll be recording here shortly, starting that. The one cool thing, I'm going to continue to keep it primarily a solo show, but I am planning on interviewing my wife because I want to get her perspective because I think a lot of people a lot of couples might deal with this. I want to get her perspective looking back at kind of what we talked about here, the journey from like my day job to becoming a content creator and a writer and what that looked like for her, what those conversations between us looked like, the decisions that we made, her worries, fears, things like that. I think a lot of spouses, as if you are like trying to build something, whether it's a business or something else, like there's the level of fear or maybe there's expectations, or maybe there's, just not on the same page. Maybe you're not having the conversations you need to have. And that's kind of what I want to walk through with that. So that will actually be the first episode when season 2 launches. I'm super excited for that.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So what changed when you looked at, okay, my buddy has a show. I do not want any piece of that. I'll be on a show, but like, that's it. And then the shift to, okay, I'm going to launch my show, and I'm not even going to look at the numbers. I really don't care. I'm just going to do it. Why did you just do it? What was the driver there?
When I was working my day job, I used to listen to a ton of podcasts on my commute. I had it wasn't super long, but it was like 25-minute commute to work. So I would listen to podcasts. And once I started working from home, I just, it doesn't happen anymore unless maybe I'm working out or I have a long drive to, or traveling. It just doesn't happen. I kind of missed that. I realized kind of the value of that, medium, both as a listener, but then also I kind of looked at it as a content creator. Like, this is just a different way for people to consume content, kind of like, YouTube or social media. People just consume things in different ways, and things are changing. A lot, not as many people, necessarily go online and read websites, or maybe they're on there, to Google something real quick, get an answer, and then they're gone. So I kind of wanted to just expand what we were doing to give, either the same, our same audience a different way to consume content and to hear from us, but also to attract different people who maybe wouldn't necessarily go and look up our website to get, money advice or whatever. The one thing that maybe I might be different than a lot of people. I started looking into, podcasting. I hit up my buddy and was like, what do you need? What do I need to do? I'm sure that I already knew you from previous conferences and just having conversations. So I think I hit you up. I hit up some other people within the FinCon community, which is like the personal finance creators, asking them, because a lot of them have podcasts, like, what equipment do I need? How do I do this? How do I do that? And I came to the conclusion that I did not want to learn a bunch of new skills just to be able to do this. So hired an editor.
Yes.
Just you.
Yes.
And your team.
I'm honored.
They do an amazing job. and yes, I have learned a lot since then on how to do things, but for me, that was like a huge barrier. If I had to learn all these new skills, on how to actually edit and make something sound good, how to, get out all the ums and, all the noises. For me, that was just too much. I didn't have enough space. I didn't have enough time, but I also didn't have enough head space for that. So I just made that decision right from the beginning that that's how I was going to do things. And I was going to record. I was going to come up with the ideas and then let someone else handle making me sound good. And that has been a huge thing for me. And I think that that's you don't necessarily have to be a content creator. Like, if you're just a business owner and you're looking for a different way to reach people, I think, whether it's a podcast or a YouTube channel or whatever, you don't have to do all of the things necessarily. I made it a point to just consider, editing services a business expense, and I, built it into, my business's, budget. So you can do the same,
Like you said, you write for these various credit card company reviews or whatever. That's what they're doing. They're outsourcing that skill. They want content on their site. So they have found you to be the content creator in that piece. And that's your expertise. So it's the same thing. You can accomplish anything you want in your business whether it be, blogs or Facebook ads or podcasting or just any initiative, by not necessarily learning those skills yourself and having to take on this whole additional, potentially massive task, it could be outsourced. And I think the word on the street is that we should all outsource before we actually think we're ready. I have experienced that, but I have also experienced knowing that I will outsource a task. And yes, it is kind of cluttering my workflow, but like I need to do it right now because of budget or whatever the reason is. And then truly outsourcing it when I am ready. So I've experienced both sides of that. Have you?
Yeah, I have. And I think, personally, like it's good to have like a working knowledge of like whatever you're doing, like podcasting, how it works, how I record, how to do, just general basics and stuff. But it's not something to where I need to know all the, behind the scenes work that's involved. And in the end, like this podcast or my website or whatever, it's just a tool to be able to reach other people. The same as like if your business does advertising or you have a mailing list or, whatever, like it's just a tool to connect with other people. Whether that's potential customers or just an audience or just you're trying to help people. It's just a way to connect. And you don't have to overcomplicate these things necessarily. And I think we tend to do that. I know I do. Like I probably I'm one of those people, like I think about something and for like a year before I actually do it. I probably was hitting people up a year beforehand going, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. We're going to do a podcast. And like, I have to have everything right. I got to have the right microphone. I got to have the right this. I got to have the right that. And yeah, obviously there are certain things like, sound quality and all those things are obviously important. But like what's more important is to just, like I said, just do the thing, like just to start somewhere. I'll be looking back at my podcast like 5 years from now, if it's still going on, I'm going, whoa, those are horrible, but that point of where I'm so much better at it or more professional at it doesn't happen without that starting point. Same with my writing business. Like my first, articles were probably horrible. But without starting, I'm not where I am today,
I see it very often that people will talk about and ask about and plan to launch and say, I'm going to launch a show or I'm going to launch a YouTube channel, whatever it is, for months and sometimes a year or more. And we're taking on a show right now that we can hear in the first recordings that they were literally recorded over a year ago. But yet I know that this show didn't launch until November of last year. So, there's definitely this gap between when someone has the idea, begins to execute it, thinks they're going to launch, holds on for some reason, and then finally launches potentially a year later. So that's super normal. But I also want to highlight how you said, just do the thing. You're not going to grow unless you just get it out there. There's all of those pieces where that perfectionist side of all of us tries to hold us back from launching the thing and just going and doing. But those first episodes, even if you feel like they're perfect, you're not going to still view them as perfect a year from now because you grow in that time. And so there's really not a way to launch perfectly. There's really not. We can plan and we can do all the social media. We could have this amazing launch party and we could do all these things, but you're still going to look back because you grew and think, what was I doing? Oh, those are so terrible. Like, look at my hair or like whatever it is. So,
yeah. And going along with it, the only way to have a bad launch is to not have one at all.
True.
If you know that that's what you're supposed to do or that you want to do, and then you don't do it, like that's, that's a bad launch. That's not, if you're supposed to do it or that it's, going to be helpful, like you just have to get over that, like wanting to be perfect or like have to have the perfect lighting and, or the perfect location, a lot of people will record their podcasts like in the craziest spots, like in their car or in a closet or something. Like it's just what you do, what you have to do with what you have. And then it goes back to the whole abundance thing. Like I'm in a position now to where I can have some cool lights behind me and, but it didn't start there for sure. So.
Absolutely. As we wrap up, share a little bit more about your business and where we can find you and where we can hear you as well.
Yeah. So you can find it primarily at familymoneyadventure.com. Also, Instagram, you can get a little more in-depth look at some of our travels at Family Money Adventure. On all the podcast platforms, it's the Family Money Adventure Show. A lot of times we're just sharing just different tips on how to budget, how to track your spending, how to take a step back from your finances and really look at them and figure out what do you value the most and how can you find ways to use your money, the money that you do make, for those things instead of maybe either wasting money or maybe you're dealing with debt, so you're not able to save the way you want to. We talk about how to work through those types of things. And then on the travel side, we're big fans of like amusement parks, Disney World, beach vacations, and I kind of look at us as like kind of like a real family. Like a lot of times I'll go on to like social media, like TikTok, and especially like because we do a lot of Disney stuff. I look on there and like it's like these are the 23 snacks that to eat at Disney World. I was like, if my family of 6 went there and we ate all of these, it would be like our bill would be so, like our budget would be so big. Like it's just not realistic. Yeah, we want to try them all, but like, so we try to create content for like real people, like who are, in the thick of trying to manage their business manage their family and learn how to get better at their money. And learn how to travel better, learn different places they can go. That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. I love that because that was, kind of the differentiator for me when I look at your content, that you are very real and personable with your words and all the content that you create, but it's also really geared towards those larger families, whether you have adopted kids or not, or whatever the situation is. Maybe it's like a Brady Bunch type of situation, but the families that have 4-ish kids, your budget's going to look so much different, especially in a travel or vacation situation, than even like my family of 4, and my kids are a bit younger. So I'm going to say, I'm sure your boys eat more than my son does, and, just different things like that. So as we all have a differentiator in our business, but that is truly yours. It's that, like you said, real family, large family, teenagers, and then travel being one of your primary values. And I think that's something that a lot of people aspire to do, is to travel more. But it always seems like this dreamy, like one day type of thing. But you're showing us how we can do it decently today, and not necessarily scrounging at like the gross hotels. Like this is how you can do it nicely for your family and still have this great experience. And like you said, don't eat all 23 top rated snacks in one trip at Disney World. Like spread them out, realize that you can come back. And here's tips on the app. And like you have a really wide array of great content that I think is really useful. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And I think we try to approach, all of these different topics kind of from a, empathetic point of view, that not everybody's in the same place. Not everybody has the same starting line. especially with like finances, there's some, systematic issues that are present that even, the best planned budget isn't going to fix necessarily. So we try to keep that in mind. Obviously, can't create content for everybody, but we try to kind of lead with empathy when we are talking about those kinds of topics.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here with me today, Kevin. I really appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.